Hello, friends, and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz, and I have a project for you that I am so excited about. These are the cards I'm making for my kids for Easter this year. It has this adorable peep on the outside. The flap opens, and you can see all of these little mini M&Ms on the inside. You can pour them out and eat them. It holds almost 3 packs of M&Ms. You guys, I'm so excited. This is the Squishy Bunny shaped card die. So here's a shaped card that I made. I'll link to that video below in the description box. But we are just going to cut part of this. Okay, so I'm lining it up. I want it a little bit more to the right than the left because I'll put my sentiment on the left. And I'm taking my time here, right? This is really the focal point of the card. So the beauty of using a shaped card die is that where the two bunnies meet in the middle, that's a score line. So even if I accidentally cut too much during my partial die cutting, it's still not going to fully cut out the bunny. I'm still going to have a hinge on that left-hand side. I only want the bunny on the right to cut out. So my top plate is going to get lined up sort of right on where that score line is created by the shaped card die. And I will run that through my machine. And here you can see I have like a bunny flap now. If you were using a circle or a rectangle or some other kind of die, you would leave part of that shape not under your plate. Do some partial die cutting, and then you can create a hinge there too. I'm going to put some Shimmer Spritz on this just to give it a little added interest. It's hard to pick up on camera, but I will do my best to show it to you when it's dry. I'm lining my die up behind that yellow cardstock and then placing it the best I can on top of this pattern paper. I cut the pattern paper about 1/4 inch bigger for both width and height so that later on I can trim off the excess and get this lined up perfectly. But my plate, once again, is going right over the score line. And so my bunny didn't cut all the way out. I am just sort of rounding on this piece those edges where the bunny would be completely cut out. And then I'm going to use my scissors to cut it away on this side. What I'm doing is creating a background to go around my bunny. And you could, again, do this with pretty much any shape. So here I'm trying to pick up that shimmer. It's there a little bit. You could almost see it. And then I will just line up my two shapes. And you can see it's not the perfect fit. That's okay. I left myself room on both of these pieces to be able to trim some away and still have an A2 card panel. I'm gluing all the way around all of those exposed edges. I don't want this to accidentally lift up as my kids are playing with it. So really thin beads of glue, but all over. Then I will use my fingers to carefully line up the two bunnies. Yes, I have cardstock showing where it shouldn't be, and I've got pattern paper hanging over the cardstock. Not a problem. I'm bringing in my trimmer, and I will start by just trimming away the excess patterned paper, and then I will trim away the excess cardstock and make sure that everything evens out. So it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when I'm done, and they're perfectly lined up, and it was no stress. I didn't need to worry about both layers being cut exactly in the same place. So I am just folding on the score lines that were created by our shaped card, and now I'm going to glue this onto a piece of acetate. I'm using a heavyweight acetate, but a medium weight would probably be fine. I use graphics shrink film, and as long as I'm not trying to heat emboss on it, it holds up really nicely and it's crystal clear. So glue all over except where our bunny is, where our peep is, and I will glue that onto the acetate. It's hard to glue things to slick surfaces, so I try to put glue everywhere but a really thin line. And then I'm going to flip this over, and when I'm pressing towards the outside. So if any glue oozes out, it's not going to end up in our bunny window. I want to create a rainbow panel to go on the inside. And so I have 3 colors. I have yellow, light pink, and teal. And I like to start with my yellow in the middle because I am going to create orange and green through the overlap. And I know me, if I start on one end with pink, I'm going to over pink and we're going to end up with problems. Okay, so you can see here, this is working really nicely. I have that beautiful orange showing up, and then I'll bring in my teal. And actually what I found was that I don't have enough green, that the yellow didn't go far enough towards that end. So once I'm done with this teal, I'll bring my yellow blending brush back in. I'm blending on a glass surface and using my Blending Buddy brushes. They lay down amazing color and I have great control. So I don't have any issues with splotchiness here. This is one of my favorite blending tools of all time. So here's what this is going to look like when I lay it on top. I've got that beautiful rainbow bunny on the inside, and then I'm bringing in some recycled packaging. If I want to create a pocket for our candy and I don't have a place for foam tape on the bottom, this is how I do it. I am using some 1/8 inch double-sided tape, and I'm putting it all over the back around the bunny. I don't want to be able to see it through our little window there. And then I have my recycled packaging that I'm going to lay right on top, trying to glue acetate to acetate. I have not found a glue that I'm real thrilled with that holds on nicely and doesn't, like, you can't pull it apart. And again, I'm giving this to my kids. So I'm going to lay that packaging so it's covering pretty much the entire back. It's crystal clear, and then my heavyweight acetate is crystal clear, not a problem. I am trimming away the excess acetate, particularly on that right-hand side, but I'm being careful to make sure I'm leaving enough. So the entire bottom where the bunny is, I can fold that over and it will cover it up. I wasn't sure how much foam tape I would need here, so I was double checking. This is Pear Blossom Press's World's Best Foam Tape. It's double thick already, and I'm going to double it up again, but there are thinner candies that you could put in here. Some Smarties would be great, and they're pastel colored. Honestly, I bought the Easter packaged mini M&Ms thinking they would be pastel, and they weren't, but they're delicious and my kids will like them, so we're using it anyway. And then I am lining up, you can see on the bottom, there's a really straight line because the plastic's gonna wrap around that. Okay, there's my straight line of foam, okay? And then I've covered the sides and I've left a little opening at the top so I'll be able to pour the candy out. I'm just gonna remove the backing paper from all of that double-sided tape, and then I'm gonna place my panel with my rainbow on it on the back. I'm just doing my best with my fingers to line that up. This is super low stress because that foam tape is repositionable for 30 minutes. So if it wasn't on there correctly, I could lift it up, and you're gonna see me do that in a minute. So here you can see I have a hole right in the bottom of my card. Well, I'm going to add some more double-sided adhesive tape. This was just easy. And then I'll remove that backing paper and I'm going to wrap that recycled packaging around the bottom. So now I have like a little shelf down there. Nothing's going to fall out of the bottom. I will just carefully trim this away on the side, and then any of the excess on the back. I still want to put this on a card base, and the more cardstock is there, the easier it will stick to the card base. So here's my hole, and I'm going to measure this. I think it's about 1.5 inches. I was not measuring it while I was making it, but you certainly could, right? You could plan ahead. These are the arched shape cards. There's a 5x7 shaped card that is this beautiful arch. But I use just the layering pieces more often than anything else. They have this really great modern embossed detail that matches our bunny. And I am just trimming that off. It's going to be the stopper that goes into our card. I'm going to stamp the word pull on the top of one of these arches, and I have two. So when the first one is kind of crooked, I'll just stamp on the other one and keep the one that I like best. I'm using VersaFine Clear Pigment ink here. Because I'm not using my Misty, and I find I get a really crisp impression the first time with this ink. So I am using the Papercrafting Magic Stamp Set for that. If you like interactive cards at all, it is a must-have. Then I put that same doubled up foam tape in between my two layers, and I can just tuck that right in there. Except that it wants to fall all the way in, and I don't want that. So you can see I'm able to just peel that right back up off of my foam tape. Nothing is tearing. It's brilliant. So I'm going to go ahead and create a little shelf that's going to rest on. I put one on the right and one on the left to start with. That would be my preference, but you can actually see it through our little window. So when I open this up, you'll be able to see. I'm going to remove the one on the right, and it's going to be fine. I just have one little stopper. This guy's not going to fall all the way in there. It's not a problem. So I'll seal that back up. By the next day, everything is secured and that's not coming apart at all. But now I can start doing the fun stuff. Here are my mini M&Ms. And I open it up and I tell you what, I was so bummed. I was so bummed that these weren't pastel. But again, my kids won't care. I fit nearly 3 full bags of M&Ms in there. In the end, I took some back out so you can kind of see the background because I like that. But you could stuff this full. Then I'll put my little stopper in there and you'll have to wait to see the reveal. It didn't occur to me to show you yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I have little eyes that I can put on my bunny, and then Happy Easter with shadows is also in that same die set, right? So this card it really is featuring one specialty die set, and then everything else, there's lots of other ways that you could do that. I am just going to add little dots of glue all over the back of the word happy. And I like to tap that off on the back of my hand, just in case there's any big dots. I don't want them to ooze out. I'm using a shimmery white cardstock. And if I get glue on that where you can see it, it's not going to be as shimmery. And I don't like that. Then I've done Easter. I wasn't sure. I cut it from 2 different colors. And in the end, I was like, let's do both. I'm here for a little teal and a little pink, some of my favorite color combinations. Can I tell you, I also looked up which peeps are the most popular, and they said yellow. I don't know. I guess I like the hot tamale ones, but that's just me. I'm going to go ahead and add my Happy Easter on there, and I thought I was done. You guys, there's a version of this video where I just finished the card there, but I was like, no, we need to make this funny. So I released some free printable sentiments called Funny Bunny a couple of weeks ago. I'll just link to the video that has the sentiments, and I added or adapted 2 of the sentiments to fit this card perfectly. So I'm going to use a strip sentiment that says hand over the chocolate, and then there will be a circle sentiment that says and no bunny gets hurt. So for this strip sentiment, I just use the tick marks to cut it out and make sure that it's straight, and then I am going to temporarily tape that onto a 3/8 inch cardstock strip that I used my Emergency Card Essentials dies to cut out. I can just line that die up with the other edge of my white strip and then pull it off and run that back through. And I'm going to get this really beautiful die cut edge on both sides, and it's a custom sized sentiment. Those dies were designed specifically to go with the free printable sentiments that I release on my channel a couple times a month. And I cannot tell you how amazing it has been to have these so that my sentiments always look like extra special. I am stacking up a couple extra strips of white cardstock behind that white sentiment just to give it a little more weight, make it feel a little bit fancier. And then I'm going to have my bunny holding on to this sentiment. I have some extra like goobery sticky stuff on that pink strip. So I was just using my adhesive eraser to remove some of that. But once it's all centered, I like to use removable adhesive when I add sentiments. That way, if down the road I change my mind and this is maybe going to my niece or my nephew and they don't have my same sense of humor, I can always take that off or replace it. So here's the and no bunny gets hurt. I love that this fits perfectly behind our bunny's face. Okay, so the white circle is 1 3/4 of an inch, and then that pink circle is 2 inches, and it has some really great deboss detail. And I thought I was going to put it behind the face, but actually we're going to stick it right in the middle here to sort of help with our color situation. I'm going to flip the whole thing over and add plenty of glue to add this onto our card base. I don't need a whole ton of room to write on this, but the card base will let it stand up on display. My kids like to keep their cards, and so I think that'll be a lot of fun. So here it is. Happy Easter, hand over the chocolate, and no bunny gets hurt. And you can sort of pour out the candy. It comes out really, really easily. Put the stopper back in. Friends, I hope that this is inspiring for you. I hope you'll give something like this a try. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.